They don't need to be good at their jobs because they've conditioned the cult, the run-of-the-mill voters in the MAGA world. They've conditioned them to just believe anything they're told. Pam Bondi is not good at her job. And I don't mean good at her job as the Attorney General of the United States and the head of the Department of Justice, because that, after all, that's not her real job. That's Stephen Miller's job. He's the one who calls the shots and pulls the strings to control Miss Pam Bondi. I'm talking about her job of covering for Donald Trump, her job of providing some kind of concealment for him to hide under from his credible accusations of abusing children. We'll use very PG language here so YouTube doesn't restrict this video, because Google, we're finding out, is also in the business of covering for Donald Trump. Let's start with the hearing yesterday before the Senate Judiciary Committee, providing the oversight that is constitutionally mandated. After all, the executive branch of the United States government is not an island unto itself. It has two other co-equal branches that it must answer to, as designed by our founders, with the many checks and balances. And yesterday, as part of this oversight and the questioning of the different policies that took place, that are currently taking place under the Trump administration, we're going to start with Adam Schiff, the senator from California, asking Pam Bondi, the head of the Department of Justice, about the alleged $50,000 bribe that is apparently on camera of the border czar, Tom Homan, you know, the mushmouth dildo with ears. Did he accept this money? Her answer proves just how bad at her job she is.
You did, but in case I just didn't hear you, what is the answer? Did he take the money?
Senator Schiff, that happened prior to my confirmation as Attorney General.
Do you know,
I said that.
Do you know, sitting here, whether
all
he took
I know
the money?
is that Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche and FBI Director Patel said there was no case. And Caroline Leavitt is one of the most trustworthy human beings I know.
So
and,
was she,
was she if you
right?
worked for me, you would have been fired because you were censured by Congress for lying with your
we can stipulate to, you can stipulate to all your personal attacks on the Democratic members of the committee.
Personal attacks? You've been attacking my FBI director. You've been attacking my office. You've been attacking.
But what we're interested in,
borders are.
What we're interested in is the ansor to these oversight questions.
You were asked by my colleague.
You were asked by my colleague.
Attacking good people.
Regular order, Madam Chair, so I can ask a question.
Not good at her job. Even if I was critiquing her job as Attorney General here, she's not good at that either. I mean, she's a lawyer. Presumably, she's a lawyer. She's gone to law school. She's passed the bar for at least the state of Florida. And here she is saying, he says, did he take the money? That happened before my confirmation hearing. What relevance is that, Pam? What relevance is when the crime took place relative to whether it took place? And when you just openly admit that happened before, you're not really beating the allegations against the Trump administration and the hand-chosen border czar, again, the aforementioned mushmouth dildo with ears, Tom Homan. Also, Caroline Leavitt is the most honest person you know. You're already off on a bad foot, sister. We know Caroline Leavitt. She is among the worst liars that have ever been employed by Donald Trump. And that's saying something. But with McEnany and Huckabee Sanders and Sean Spicer, we've seen a litany of liars work for Donald Trump. And also, Caroline Leavitt isn't some investigatory body of the United States of America. She has no law enforcement authority. She's a paid talker. For her to just proclaim that he never took the money when he himself doesn't deny that he took the money, it says everything we need to know. The parade of bad at her job continued. I talked about this yesterday, but this drum needs to be beaten to death here. And that is the Epstein connection between Donald Trump and the sex trafficking of children, the criminal enterprise of Jeffrey Epstein and who knows who else. And the reason I say who knows who else is because they won't release the files. They won't let us know what Donald Trump's involvement is or was and who else was involved. We don't know. They won't tell us. And when asked about this, Senator Sheldon Whitehouse asked specifically about rumors and testimony from people that Donald Trump is in photos with half-naked young women, I believe he says. We don't know the ages. If it's an Epstein-connected thing, unlikely that it's young women. And she flips out, does not answer, rather than just say, no, of course not. Donald Trump's not in any photos that were in the possession of Jeffrey Epstein that he used to show to people containing half-naked girls. She does not say that. Instead of saying, no, they don't exist, she freaks out, which tells us more than just silence would. Watch this.
Let me ask you something else. There's been public reporting that Jeffrey Epstein showed people photos of President Trump with half-naked young women. Do you know if the FBI found those photographs in their search of Jeffrey Epstein's safe or premises or otherwise? Have you seen any such thing?
You know, Senator Whitehouse, you sit here and make salacious remarks, once again trying to slander President Trump left and right, when you're the one who was taking money from one of Epstein's closest confidants, I believe, I could be wrong, correct me, Reid Hoffman, who was with Jeffrey Epstein on multiple occasions. And the senator sitting right next to you tried to block the flight logs from being released. Yet you're grilling me on President Trump and some photograph with Epstein? Come on.
The question is, did the FBI find those photographs that have been discussed publicly by a witness who claimed Jeffrey Epstein showed them to him? You don't know anything about that. Okay.
This is how denials work. Sheldon Whitehouse has said unequivocally, flatly, that's untrue. I have not received any campaign donations from the person she's making the accusation of. That's how a denial works. A denial is not this. All he asked was, do you know if the FBI found these photos? Have you seen these photos? That's the question. Why the consternation? Why the fit throwing? Why the obstruction? Why the anger? If there's no photos, the answer is no, the FBI have found no such photos. That's the answer. Why you just love to hate Donald Trump? You hate our cult leader. If there's no photos, there's no photos. That's the answer. If there was no contribution, a political contribution made, the answer is, yeah, I don't know that guy. He never gave to my campaign. That's a lie. That's how a denial works. Apparently, you're so bad at your job, you don't even know how to do that, Pam Bondi. Whether it be the Department of Justice head, whether it be just high priestess in the cult of Donald Trump, you're bad at it all. And this kind of is the situation we find ourselves in, where it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy with MAGA world. They don't need to be good at their jobs because they've conditioned the cult, the run-of-the-mill voters in the MAGA world. They've conditioned them to just believe anything they're told, to adopt the idea that they're told as reality. So they don't need to be good. They don't need to be squirrely or wily or some other invective of what a liar would be. They don't need to do that because they've conditioned the low information, unwashed horde of Fox News viewers to just go along like automatons and follow along with what they're told, yearning for the boot of tyranny upon their necks.
I look at people with very low IQs like Crockett, this woman Crockett. I never met her, but she's a low IQ individual.
Whenever Donald Trump gets cornered just a little bit, he kind of reverts to what's comfortable for him. You know, the saying that water rolls downhill, it takes the path of least resistance. The path of least resistance for Donald Trump is vile racism. And it is amazing to me that he acts as though he doesn't care about black women in this case. They're of no importance to him. He's president of the United States, yet they live rent-free inside the cavernous confines of Donald Trump's empty fucking dome. Constantly talking about it, constantly thinking about black women, because at his core, at his basest of bases, he is a racist, a demagogue, a white supremacist who leads the most vital and powerful white supremacy organization on the planet, the Republican Party. I'm going to start here. Donald Trump was asked about airport delays in the Oval Office yesterday. Airport delays. And not only does he say, oh yeah, those are Democrat delays. He runs the government. Donald Trump controls 2/3 of the government. He controls Congress, the House and the Senate are Donald Trump's, and he controls the executive branch of the United States government. The executive branch of the United States government, which contains the Transportation Department, which he runs. Sean Duffy, the Transportation Secretary, the former reality star turned Fox News talking head, who's now, among other reality stars running the United States government. We're having planes fall out of the sky. The government shutdown is making it worse. And Donald Trump says it's Democrats. Any delays that are happening right now are because of Democrats. Right. And then he turns his ire to a black woman with no navigable segue. There's no understanding of how he got from airport delays, Democrat delays, Jasmine Crockett. I'm sure it makes sense in the vacuous void, again, that is Donald Trump and his brain, but it doesn't make sense to the rest of us. Watch this.
Are you concerned about the delays at airports, and how do you see the shutdown?
Oh, sure. I mean, they're all Democrat delays. There are delays at the airport. That's standard. And again, this is something that every day we put forth a bill. It's just a continuation. It's a very simple thing to sign and very simple to do. And I really think that these are people that I think they have nothing to lose. They have a party that's out of control. They have no leader. Nobody knows who the leader is. I look at people with very low IQs like Crockett, this woman Crockett. I never met her, but she's a low IQ individual. I look at AOC talking about how if they want to negotiate, they can come to my office. She's not in that position to do that. And who the hell is she to say that?
Yeah, that's attacking women of color. Specifically, low IQ Jasmine Crockett, which, to be a fly on the wall in any room that Jasmine Crockett is in, talking about, pondering about the attacks from Donald Trump. And let me tell you, nobody feels bad when Donald Trump calls them low IQ, because Donald Trump is the most intellectually incurious president the United States has ever known. And that's saying something, because we've had some dumb shits as president of the United States. This is a guy who hasn't read a book since junior high, maybe even earlier than that. This is somebody who likely didn't even take his own admissions exams to get into college, that his entire path was paved by the money of his father. His entire life of successes and failures were paved by the silver spoon that provided no resistance, no friction to create someone with character. Yet he has the temerity. He has the stupidity to sit there and call someone who is lettered, who is educated, who is accomplished, who is absolutely smart, calling them low IQ. And then as just, I guess, that little bonus, throw an AOC in there and attacking her. This is racism. There's no other way to look at it. The path he took in that answer is the only explanation is white supremacy. It is vile hatred of black people, black women especially, the gravest threat to Donald Trump. And it didn't stop. It wasn't the only time in this particular Oval Office White House press pool questioning session. He's asked a question and he starts rambling about the Democrats having no leaders and that he talked to the leader of Somalia, and he starts being a racist piece of shit about Ilhan Omar, talking about her as though she's not a citizen of this country, talking about her as though she's not a democratically elected individual of the People's House, the Congress of the United States. Vile. Watch this.
Who to speak to. I'll tell you what, I'm getting calls from Democrats wanting to meet. I never even heard their names before, and they're claiming to be leaders. The Democrats have no leader. They remind me of Somalia, okay? You know, and I met the president of Somalia. I told him about the problem he's got. I said, you have somebody from Somalia who's telling us how to run our country. She's from Somalia. He said, would you like to take her back? He said, no, I don't want her. Okay, you know who I'm talking about?
All of that is a lie. One, Democrats are not calling Donald Trump. Let's make a deal, sir. With tears in my eyes, I come to you. Oh, dear cult leader. Democrats aren't calling Donald Trump. And for this vile racism that he talked to the president of Somalia and said, you, Somalia, you, president of Somalia, have somebody from Somalia who's telling us how to run our country? Ilhan Omar is a citizen of the United States of America. Full stop. It is her country. She's not telling anybody how to run their country. She's not even telling anybody how to run our country. She is a participant in the governance of this nation, having been elected legally in a free and fair, settled American election, has been made a member of Congress. This is a pylon of MAGA hatred is what this is. This is just open, plain, bald-face racism, white supremacy, that bringing up all of the tropes that she can't be a true full American because she's a black woman. She can't be truly a citizen of the country because she emigrated here from another nation and jumped through all of the hoops that were provided her and then became a citizen of the United States. She can't fully be a member of Congress because she's not a Christian. All of these are racist tropes that Donald Trump drags out when he feels a little insecure about the questions that are being asked, whether they be about airport delays that he blames on Democrats, even though he runs the Department of Transportation, that he blames on Jasmine Crockett for some reason because she's a low IQ individual, says the dumb shittiest of dumb shits who've ever dumb shitted Donald Trump. Please.
I wish you loved Chicago as much as you hate President Trump.
That's the kind of testimony you expect from this administration. A simple question as to whether or not they had a legal rationale for deploying National Guard troops becomes grounds for a personal attack.
I really hope that Democrats take a page out of the Republican playbook to give them back what has been delivered to the American people by them. Meaning, when Democrats are back in the White House, and Republicans, hopefully not, but if Republicans are in control of Congress and they have oversight power, when they hold hearings, I hope Democrats act just like Pam Bondi did yesterday. Because if we're setting precedents, if we're going off of what previous administrations have made normal, all right. If this is how it can be done, this is how I guess it should be done. Watching Pam Bondi yesterday was a master class in jackassery. It was recalcitrance. It was the entire day. In fact, there's a couple of different moments here where she has predetermined written for her lines that she references before she looks back up to respond to whichever lawmaker is asking her questions, whichever constitutionally mandated provider of oversight was asking questions. She provided no information. It's a lot along the same lines of the question that gets asked of why have Jim Jordan on an interview on CNN? You know he's going to lie. You know he's going to provide no actual information whatsoever. So why do it? It's kind of the same thing. However, sometimes what people don't say, sometimes the questions people refuse to answer give us more information than the answer they would have give if they did answer. We're going to start with Adam Schiff, who really just kind of went through and started listing the questions that she refused to answer, sending her over the edge. And in this clip, I want you to watch her when she's on screen, watch where she's looking, what she's referencing when she comes back to make her snarky little comments, because she doesn't have the brain pan available to her to think quickly in the moment on her feet. She needs pre-constructed talking points to refer to try to distract from the hearing's goals and objectives, again, that are mandated by the Constitution of the United States. Watch Adam Schiff really doing good work here with Pam Bondi.
You were asked whether you were firing career professionals, career prosecutors, just because they worked on January 6th investigations. You refused to answer that question. You were asked by my California colleague whether you believe government officials, like immigration officials, have to abide by court orders. You wouldn't even answer that question. This is supposed to be an oversight hearing.
Oversight?
Excuse me, you can attack me after my time is over.
You've attacked all of us, including President Trump, for your entire
You can attack me later,
career.
and I know you've got plenty of canned attacks. We've heard them all day to day.
Canned attacks on you?
This is supposed to be...
No one needs a canned attack on you.
Regular order, Madam Chair. I'm trying to speak. This is supposed to be an oversight hearing of the Justice Department. And it comes in the wake of an indictment called for by the president of one of his enemies. This is supposed to be an oversight hearing, and it comes in the wake of revelations that a top administration official took $50,000 in a bag, and this department made that investigation go away. This is supposed to be an oversight hearing when dozens of prosecutors have been fired simply because they worked on cases investigating the former president. This is, and now
What
the current
about the
president.
fires in California?
And
Do you
this
care
is
about that,
supposed to
Senator
be,
Schiff?
this is supposed to be an oversight hearing in which members of Congress can get serious answers to serious questions about the
Are the
cover-up-
riots in
about the
LA
cover-up-
serious?
About the cover-up of corruption, about the prosecution of the president's enemies. And
I think you owe the president an apology
when will it be
your entire career,
that
frankly.
the members of this committee on a bipartisan basis demand answers to those questions and refuse to accept
Clearly you're a failed lawyer
refuse
because
to
you don't
accept,
understand when
excuse
someone
me,
can and cannot
refuse
answer
to
a
accept
question.
personal slander as an answer to those questions.
Personal slander.
With
Will
that,
you
Madam
apologize
Chair,
to Donald
I yield
Trump
back.
for slandering him?
And that's what the whole role was. That's what the game was about. That was what she was doing there yesterday. Defending Donald Trump. Many moments looking directly into the camera, knowing that at the other end on some television in the White House, Donald Trump was watching. Donald Trump was either approving or disapproving of her performance. And that's exactly what it was. It was a performance. Even Adam Schiff referencing the canned attacks, the canned comments. Well, she's a canned attack. I don't need a canned comment for you. What about the fires in LA? Right. We see you, Pam. We see you. The performance absolutely did continue, unabated. No pushback from the chairman, the Republican chairman of the committee at all, at any point whatsoever. No, at no point banging the gavel, creating order in the chamber, directing the witness. Here's the other thing that I really wish I could see from these people. This is part of the problem. Maybe it's part of the problem with me. I was going to say this is part of the problem with governance and these types. They get into power and they're so adherent to the my good friend across the aisle, this performative action of pretending like they're all friends and we can all just get along and just have different opinions. When that political ship has sailed, we no longer live under that political order that we have for so long. It does not exist anymore, as evidenced by her behavior in this committee. What I would love is for someone like Adam Schiff to say, Madam, do not interrupt me. Madam, shut your mouth when you are in this chamber. You are a guest here. You are required to be here, and we are required to provide oversight. Shut your mouth until you are asked a question. That's where we are. Can we dispense with this congenial, oh, madam, we're gonna have some oversight hearing. You're not going to answer any of our questions, but we're going to still treat you as though you're here in good faith. The next clip is Dick Durbin, senator from Illinois. Two senators here from two separate states that are under literal assault and invasion from Donald Trump. California, Illinois. And Dick Durbin, he wants to know about the dispatchment, the deployment of military troops into Illinois from Donald Trump. What was the predication? What were conversations like? What was the planning like? What went into it? And of course, you won't be surprised to learn, she refused to give any information whatsoever. She refused to allow the constitutionally mandated duty of Congress. She refused to allow them oversight. And it's just allowed. And she just levels her random weird attacks and acts incredulous, all to please the cult leader, Donald Trump.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. Madam Attorney General, let me ask you this question. Were you consulted by the White House before they deployed National Guard troops to cities in the United States?
I am not going to discuss any internal conversations with the White House.
You won't even say whether you talked to the White House about this?
I am not going to discuss any internal conversations with the White House with you, Ranking Member.
I noticed that. What's the secret? Why do you want to keep this secret? The American people don't know the rationale behind the deployment of National Guard troops in my state. The word is, and I think it's been confirmed by the White House, they are going to transfer Texas National Guard units to the state of Illinois. What's the rationale for that?
Yeah, Chairman, as you shut down the government, you voted to shut down the government, and you're sitting here, our law enforcement officers aren't being paid. They're out there working to protect you. I wish you loved Chicago as much as you hate President Trump. And currently, the National Guard are on the way to Chicago. If you're not going to protect your citizens, President Trump will.
Been on this committee for more than 20 years. That's the kind of testimony you expect from this administration. A simple question as to whether or not they had a legal rationale for deploying National Guard troops becomes grounds for a personal attack. I think it's a legitimate question. It's my responsibility. She refuses to answer as to whether she had any conversation with the White House about deploying national troops to my state. That's an indication, I'm afraid, where we are politically in this place.
Did you catch it? Did you catch it? Right before she answers the last question about you voted to shut down the government, I wish you loved America as much as, or I wish you loved Chicago as much as you hate Donald Trump. That was a preordained line that she looked down on paper, got tracked what she was going to say, and then turned back to answer. Who's writing? Who's writing the bits for Pam Bondi? Is it Stephen Miller? Could be. Very likely, or a Stephen Miller aide. We know, after all, that Stephen Miller is the actual Attorney General of the United States. The non-lawyer Stephen Miller runs the Department of Justice. He runs the State Department. He runs the Homeland Security Department. We know. And this is why they can't answer any questions, because if questions are answered, facts will be come to. The narrative will be uncovered. The reality of what is taking place will be laid bare. When we're in charge again, we need to bring this kind of fire. If this is the new normal, if this is the way they want things to run, let's give it to them. Midterms cannot come soon enough. What do you think? I'd love to know. Please subscribe to this channel on YouTube. We're trying to get to 1.5 million before the end of the year. Unlikely, but possible. With your help, it could happen. You can also like and follow the Facebook page, Dollemore Daily. I would appreciate that very much. You can comment below the video wherever you choose to watch it. And you can call the voicemail line, 714-576-4054. Of course, you can email me, as always, daily@dollemore.com. These people, these accomplished professionals, Todd Blanche is a multimillionaire from his law practice, and he is okay with completely desecrating his own reputation in service to Donald Trump. Donald Trump. It is so weird how much effort goes in to from these government employees of the Homeland Security Department or the State Department or in this case, the Department of Justice, how much effort and energy they expend to please Donald Trump, to appear on television looking into the barrel of a camera to please the dear leader who happens to watch them on a TV in the White House. Todd Blanche, Donald Trump's former personal attorney, criminal defense attorney, is now, has a high-ranking position in the Department of Justice. And yesterday, he went on Fox News with Hannity to talk about what took place in the committee hearing, the oversight hearing in the United States Senate Judiciary Committee with Pam Bondi. And in this particular moment, he's doing more than just trying to please Donald Trump. He's trying to convince the American people that Pam Bondi did a good job, which is an impossible task because she did not do a great job. She failed on every single metric she fared, except for maybe making Donald Trump feel warm and fuzzy inside, which is, again, what Todd Blanche is trying to do here. I have two clips. We're going to begin with what his narrative was, what his mission was, what he was tasked with doing when the interview started, which is pleasing Donald Trump and trying to convince America that she did a good job. It's very ham-fisted, very sloppy. The second clip gets worse, if you can believe it, but it's the same thing that they're driving home. Watch this first one.
Hey, Sean. Yes, I was in Chicago, and I did get caught up. I was so proud of the Attorney General today. She did a phenomenal job representing everything that we're doing at the Department of Justice. And it was just, you've already said it, but it's true.
That wasn't her job, Todd. One, she didn't do a phenomenal job. Oh, it was a phenomenal job. Oh, the Attorney General. Her job was not to represent everything that we're doing at the DOJ. Her job was to sit there and answer questions that were asked of members of the United States Senate under the guise of their oversight duty, their constitutionally mandated oversight duty. It's not a marketing campaign that she's on. It is the proper functioning, the constitutional functioning of our government. A co-equal branch of government has questions for a fellow co-equal branch of government that has, the Senate has been granted oversight. The House has been granted the power of oversight, checks and balances. They have a legislative duty. They have a legislative priority to maybe, if the executive branch isn't doing their job well, is overstepping the bounds of their duties under the Constitution, to write legislation to rein them in. Her job's not marketing. Her job's not making Donald Trump feel good and pointing out how Democrats hate him. Not her job. At the end of the interview, this was the first part of the interview. He wanted to get this point across. In the second, he drives it home even further and really lets his mask slip and says that her job, he loved watching her do her job and making Donald Trump look good. Could it be any more transparent with these freaks? There's also a little number in there about who runs the government, and I think maybe he's confused. Watch this.
And it was just, you've already said it, but it's true. These senators were going after the Attorney General after they refused to open the government They refuse to open the government, and yet they're going after her for these random attacks that have nothing to do with oversight. And I just loved watching her do what she did today, making President Trump look good and really making them realize what major errors they're making right now in the way they're running this country.
Major errors they're making right now in the way they're running the country. Todd Blanche, do you believe the Democrats run the country right now? You are stupider than you look, sir. And that's saying something. You are a moron if you believe that the Democrats who don't control the House of Representatives, that the Democrats who don't control the United States Senate, that the Democrats who aren't in possession of the executive branch of the government, that they run the United States government right now. Do you think that's something Donald Trump wants to hear, that Democrats are in charge, even though they don't hold the majority in either house of our Congress? And they didn't win the election in 2024? Are you saying they did win the election, Todd? Is that what you're saying, Todd? Todd, is that what you're saying, brother? Maybe you just freaked out for a moment because you had to get your one line in that was mandated by the administration, that you just love watching what she did today, making President Trump look good. An impossible task. These people, these accomplished professionals, Todd Blanche is a multimillionaire from his law practice, and he is okay with completely desecrating his own reputation in service to Donald Trump. Donald Trump, a racist, an objectively stupid person, an unintelligent rube. Just because he's got money doesn't mean he's not stupid. He is stupid. Everything he has is either was given to him by his father and then squandered by him through many, many bankruptcies, or now through doubling or tripling his net worth from becoming president of the United States. And the endless grift, the endless conning of MAGA world, whether that be trading cards, tennis shoes, perfume for dudes, whatever, all of it is meant to enrich himself off the backs of the MAGA world. And, foreign countries are getting in on the action too. They want to be looked with favor from Donald Trump, the president, who controls the mechanisms of our government. Reminder, Todd Blanche, it's not the Democrats, it's Republicans.
Men who are high-value men like Stephen Miller take risks. They're brave, they're unafraid, they're confident, and they're on a mission. And they have younger wives with beautiful children. I think I just gave him like a dating recommendation.
The right-wing obsession with masculinity is, there's really no other way to look at it. Listen, if it weren't for the fact that it is damaging and dangerous to a younger generation who looks at these people on TV and looks at the manosphere online and thinks, oh yeah, this is normal, it really is doing irrevocable damage to younger generations. But aside from that, it's hard to set that aside. It is just comical that these people, these men, these masculine dudes, these alpha males, these steely-eyed warriors who've never served and are not manly at all. They're not traditionally masculine. They're not tough guys. They're little sausage-armed wieners. They're just terrible, every single one of them. They obsess on whether you cross your legs when you sit. They obsess with whether you drink out of a straw. They obsess with all of these things that just don't matter. And they want to build one another up. And that's what we're talking about today. Yesterday on Jesse Waters' show, the Five, whatever dipshit arena show he's on, he went into this thing trying to defend Stephen Miller. I've done a couple videos on it. Stephen Miller was roasted by Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, the congresswoman from New York. And apparently it hurt Stephen Miller's feelings so badly, which is great. It's a great outcome. It hurt him so badly, it eroded his confidence so much that Jesse Waters must have been texting with Stephen Miller, the little Nazi puke, and And he must have said, oh, she really got me. She really broke me down, man. You got to help me out, brother. Talk really good about me on your show today. Oh, that must have been what it is, because Jesse Waters really just kind of moved into homoerotic territory, talking about Stephen Miller being a high value man. High value, that he's brave and he's unafraid. He's on a mission. He's confident. And then I guess at some point, Stephen Miller's just like went to Jesse Waters and like just in there. All of that probably just got bleeped. But you can imagine what I'm talking about here, because this is ridiculous. Watch with horror or delight, whichever you choose, Jesse Waters getting real deep with this Republican eroticism. Two, don't forget, mighty alpha males who are traditionally masculine.
He is a policy savant. I mean, this guy is confident. He battles CNN with grace and with class, and he provides wise counsel to the President of the United States. This is what AOC doesn't get about men. Miller is a high-value man because he has power and influence, because he has vision, and he's on a mission to save this republic and protect Western civilization. He speaks with confidence and flair, and he's unafraid of anything. Now, AOC may have someone that's taller like Gavin, or someone has more distinguished characteristics like Adam Schiff, the senator, who talks like this, or someone with more wealth like Soros the Younger. But those men are not brave men. Those men did not protect the country when the country needed it. We had tests throughout the last couple of years, tests on crime, tests during COVID, and tests with immigration. And all of the men that AOC seems to value, they all failed the test, and they failed it miserably. Men who are high-value men like Stephen Miller take risks. They're brave, they're unafraid, they're confident, and they're on a mission, and they have younger wives with beautiful children. I think I just gave him like a dating recommendation.
I don't know, man. That was pretty creepy.
I love Stephen Miller. That's not clear. Clearly.
Yeah, Jessica, what do you?
All right. Let's do this. These couple of mighty high-value masculine men. I challenge hereby, just watching the clip, rewatching it, I'm going to say this. I challenge a charity boxing match. We can do MMA, whatever your dumb shit obsession would be. We can do it. Not just Jesse Waters. I will take on simultaneously Stephen Miller, mighty alpha man, and Jesse Waters simultaneously. 2 against 1. All the money we raise will go to charity. The charity of the choice of the winner of the bout. Who do you think would win that fight? That not a street brawl, something that is adjudicated with a referee in the ring. We follow rules. Who do you think, Jesse? Is it going to be you, mighty, brave, saving the republic and Western civilization? You and your buddy Stephen Miller, whose apparently are so small that all of it can right into your or will it be me? Will it be the former United States Marine, progressive, traditionally masculine? All of that's meaningless. But who would it be? Who do you think? Stephen Miller? Jesse Waters? I guess we'll let the audience decide. Enter MAGA trolls. Wow, we should start a poll. I wish I could do polls on videos so we could just run them and see. You going to accept the offer, Jesse Waters? I doubt it. What do you think out there? I would love to invite you to this conversation. You can talk about it in the comments below the video, wherever you're watching it. You know, a few years ago, I had t-shirts made up when I made the same offer to Tucker Carlson, which he never accepted. We had t-shirts with Fight Night, like Dollemore versus Tucker. I don't remember what they said, but it was a good time. Never raised any money because He never accepted the offer.
There's so many eyes on the Super Bowl, a lot of young, impressionable children, and I think, in my view, you would have Lee Greenwood or role models doing that, not somebody like this.
You know, I noticed something about these Republicans. We'll keep it specific. I noticed something about Mike Johnson. That anytime there's a culture war, something that gets brought up that really is meaningless, that doesn't really matter at all, like, Bad Bunny being the Super Bowl act in this Super Bowl in the coming few months, he knows all about it. He's got all kinds of information about it. He's got all kinds of opinions about it. But when he's asked about the releasing of the Epstein files, he doesn't know. If he's asked about Donald Trump, the fascist message before the generals, I didn't watch it. I don't know. Sorry, I'm too busy being speaker. When he's asked about any other item, he just doesn't know if it's something important. But when it's something that's culture war related, he's got all kinds of opinions. And that's where we are here. There's a journalist on the Hill named Pablo Manriguez. Pablo Reports is his Twitter account. And he asked Mike Johnson about this Bad Bunny thing. First of all, let me say this about the this for me I wasn't even going to talk about it because it doesn't move the needle. It's not important whatsoever at all. But because it's one of these culture war things. It's the same reason I didn't talk about what's the shitty restaurant with the bad food and the country store. You know what I'm talking about. Put the logo up. I can't think of it. I don't eat there because it's terrible. Not because of the logo. But when that thing broke, who cares? Who cares? The right wants to act like the left is apoplectic about the restaurant that I can't even think of the name of. They think we are pressing for Bad Bunny to be the musical guest at the Super Bowl. No one really cares about any of this shit. They're acting like, I saw a tweet yesterday that someone was saying the left is losing their minds because Donald Trump put gold in the Oval Office. We make fun of it, but nobody's losing their minds over it. Nobody's obsessed with it. Nobody's furious about it. It's the right wing that acts like maniacs about this stuff that no one cares about. Watch this. When Mike Johnson gets asked about Bad Bunny, and not only his stupid opinions, but they're manufactured out of just in the moment saying things that they're just like programmatic buzzwords. It's all troubling because this guy has more important shit to think about and talk about and attend to. Watch this.
Any reaction to Bad Bunny being chosen as the Super Bowl halftime performance?
I didn't even know who Bad Bunny was,
okay.
But it sounds like a terrible decision, in my view, from what I'm hearing. What's that?
How come?
Well, it sounds like he's not someone who appeals to a broader audience, and I think, there's so many eyes on the Super Bowl, a lot of young, impressionable children, and I think, in my view, you would have Lee Greenwood or role models doing that, not somebody like this.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Cracker Barrel. I looked it up when the clip played. Cracker Barrel. That's the restaurant that I never go to because it's terrible. And I don't care about their logo either. But did you hear what he just said? Well, it sounds like he's not someone who appeals to a broader audience. Why? Because it's not an audience you are a member of? Because it's not Lee Greenwood? You want Lee Greenwood to headline the Super Bowl where superstars perform? Is that it? Mike Johnson. And I think, there's so many eyes on the Super Bowl, a lot of young, impressionable children. What is it about a Puerto Rican artist, an American artist, a superstar that would bother you? I mean, what would be the damage to impressionable children, Mike Johnson? What would be damaging to impressionable children, says the guy who's protecting a pedophile, who is doing everything he can, including not swearing in duly elected members of the House of Representatives who are going to vote to release the Epstein files? What say you, Mike Johnson? Please tell us. Your opinion on this matter means so much to us. We need to know how to protect impressionable children. from Spanish language music, I guess. And I think, in my view, you would have Lee Greenwood or role models doing that. Lee Greenwood is another grifter. How is he a role model? Not somebody like this. We are led by the stupid in this country. Mike Johnson is not a smart guy. Mike Johnson is just he's a more loyal version of Mike Pence, led by his superstitions and his interpretations of the mythology that he believes in. That's who he is. He's exactly Mike Pence, except maybe a little bit more closeted than Mike Pence, which I guess would imply that Mike Pence is also closeted, which might be true. I don't know. These people are so afraid of who they are. They're so afraid of their own shadows. Listen, if you're afraid of Donald Trump, it says a lot about the things that you're afraid of. If you think Donald Trump is an intimidating force, now I'm just rambling. Anyway, I'd love to know what you think. I invite you to this conversation. Let's have it in the comments below the video. Or if you like telephonic communications, you can call and leave me a voicemail of fewer than 3 minutes. Please keep it brief. 714-576-4054. And of course, as always, you can email me daily at dollemore.com. Please consider supporting this work financially. Not if you're on a fixed income, not if you're on disability, not if you're on retirement, not if you have to budget it in. But if you have $2 that you don't mind helping support this work and produce this work, please do. You can click the join button below this video, become a channel member for $2 a month, or even better, because they take way less than YouTube. YouTube takes 30%. Go to patreon.com/IDoubtIt podcast. They take way less money. We get more of it to use on creating content. I love and appreciate you very much. I'll see you next time. Be genuine and take care of one another.
There's been public reporting that Jeffrey Epstein showed people photos of President Trump with half-naked young women. Do you know if the FBI found those photographs in their search of Jeffrey Epstein's safe or premises or otherwise? Have you seen any such thing?
Let me give you a brief lay of the land. I just got done recording my entire show, and I just saw a clip of Pam Bondi effectively admitting that there are naked pictures of there are pictures of Donald Trump with half naked, as Sheldon Whitehouse categorizes them, young women. We'll find out eventually just how young those women were. But the theme today seems to be, from all of the videos that I've already recorded, the entire show is about the most important questions that we want answers to. Sometimes are the ones they refuse to answer. The questions that are refused to be answered are oftentimes the ones we need to focus on. And this question from Sheldon Whitehouse to the Attorney General of the United States of America might just be the most important question of all. And it is, in the Epstein files that the FBI has possession of, that are in the possession of the Department of Justice, with you as the head of the Department of Justice, Pam Bondi, are there photos of Donald Trump that Jeffrey Epstein had of him with half-naked young women? And the fact that she refuses to answer tells you everything you need to know. It is practically an admission that Donald Trump is guilty and that those photos do exist. Watch this, what might end up being a turning point in this investigation, a turning point in the history of the United States. Big time.
Let me ask you something else. There's been public reporting that Jeffrey Epstein showed people photos of President Trump with half-naked young women. Do you know if the FBI found those photographs in their search of Jeffrey Epstein's safe or premises or otherwise? Have you seen any such thing?
You know, Senator Whitehouse, you sit here and make salacious remarks, once again trying to slander President Trump left and right, when you're the one who was taking money from one of Epstein's closest confidants, I believe, I could be wrong, correct me, Reid Hoffman, who was with Jeffrey Epstein on multiple occasions. and the senator sitting right next to you tried to block the flight logs from being released. Yet you're grilling me on President Trump and some photograph with Epstein? Come on.
The question is, did the FBI find those photographs that have been discussed publicly by a witness who claimed Jeffrey Epstein showed them to him? You don't know anything about that. Okay.
You know what that wasn't? That wasn't a no. Have you seen these photos? Do you have these photos? All she had to do was say, those don't exist. That's not a real thing. Why are you saying that? You know what she did say? You just watched it. Subterfuge, distraction, your donors. The only thing she didn't say was, no, those photos don't exist. That's a big deal. That's a huge deal. That is a monumental event in a questioning of a witness, of an answer from the Attorney General of the United States of America, the head of the Department of Justice, who sees fit that her job is to actually protect Donald Trump from accusations, credible accusations, that he raped children. She was given a second chance to answer the question, and then it got even worse. She didn't even provide an answer. She just gave a cold stare across the room.
Did the FBI find those photographs that have been discussed publicly by a witness who claimed Jeffrey Epstein showed them to him? You don't know anything about that. Okay.
Somebody's guilty. Look, if the topic and the subject matter weren't so serious, if there weren't dozens, if not hundreds of victims, how many we don't know Donald Trump touched. And I don't mean touched physically, although I guess it also plays that way. How many did he have his hands up? I don't mean that. How many was he involved with? And the fact that the Attorney General, who has intimate understanding of what is contained in the Epstein files, the fact that she won't just flatly say no, tells you everything you need to know. Tells MAGA everything they need to know. Tells QAnon, the Save the Children people, everything they need to know. This is your guy. All she had to say was, nope. That's not in there. She didn't. Why didn't she say that? It's not because the question was so morally repugnant, I won't dignify that with a response. No. Her job is to protect Donald Trump, but also to not perjure herself. And to say those photos don't exist, if they do exist, would be perjury. The same charge that she is bringing against James Comey as Attorney General of the United States. Perjuring himself is what they claim he did to Congress. If she says no when they exist, it'd be perjury. Of course, the president could pardon her for that. Look, you're supposed to protect me, Pam. You're supposed to protect me, Pam. There is no low too low for these people. There is no action of Donald Trump too reprehensible for them to get in front of and try to protect him from. Just release the files. If there's nothing in them like you claim, Donald Trump will be fine, right? If he did nothing, there will be no black mark against him. There's no behavior that will besmirch his already good reputation. Instead, what we get is this: a senator, a seated United States senator asking a pointed, direct, obvious question that should be asked. There were reports of this. Jeffrey Epstein showing photos of Donald Trump with half-naked children or women. We don't know because you won't answer. What's your answer? You get donations from blah, blah, blah. Could there be a starker answer that communicates the guilt of Donald Trump? That's the question I have, and I will pose it to you. What do you think? You can comment below this video.
Which local officials in Portland have said that the National Guard is needed there?
The president is using his authority as Commander-in-Chief, U.S. Code 12406, which clearly states that the president has the right to call up the National Guard.
You can learn a lot from what people don't say, especially in politics. Yesterday, Caroline Leavitt was confronted by Caitlin Collins from CNN asking one specific question. And it was what she refused to answer that lets you know what is important in this moment. A critical element of what we get from the press, from answers from these MAGA people, we can look to the things they refuse to answer as a roadmap of what thing to continue to drill down on, right? So I'm going to set this clip up. I want to remind you, as I always do, of what the question was, so you can see what her response to the specific question was. Caitlin Collins asks, which local officials in Portland have said that the National Guard is needed there? Which local officials who are on the ground, who know the situation in Portland, which of them are saying, oh my God, this is an insurrection. Oh my God, this is an invasion. We need the military. Which one? Anyone? What local official? Watch Caroline Leavitt panic, scramble, freak out, avoid answering this specific question.
A federal judge over the weekend that the president had appointed to the bench in his first term in office basically argued that he could not deploy other states' National Guards to Portland, basically said that it was untethered, his argument, to what is actually happening on the ground. Which local officials in Portland have said that the National Guard is needed there?
With all due respect to that judge, I think her opinion is untethered in reality and in the law. The president is using his authority as Commander-in-Chief, U.S. Code 12406, which clearly states that the president has the right to call up the National Guard in cases where he deems it's appropriate. And if you look at what has happened in Portland, Oregon, for more than 100 nights, I was talking to our law enforcement team about it this morning, for more than 100 days, night after night after night, the ICE facility has been really under siege by these anarchists outside. They have been disrespecting law enforcement. They've been inciting violence. We saw, again, a guillotine rolled out in front of this federal building. And so the president wants to ensure that our federal buildings and our assets are protected. And that's exactly what he's trying to do. And ultimately, in the case in Los Angeles, that judge ruled in the Ninth Circuit, that panel of judges ruled that those troops could remain and that the president was well within his authority to do so. So we are appealing that decision. As you know, we expect a hearing on it pretty quickly. And we're very confident in the president's legal authority to do this. And we're very confident we will win on the merits of the law.
But no local officials that you can point to that have said we need the National Guard? Because I spoke to the police chief of Portland last week. He said that the president's claims just don't match up with what's happening on the ground.
I would encourage you as a reporter to go on the ground and to take a look at it for yourself, because there's been many members of the press, not press in this room, but independent journalists, some of whom we'll be inviting to the White House very soon to share their stories, because they have been in the middle of these riots and they have witnessed the anarchy that is taking place night after night. It's on video. You should play it on your show. You have a great opportunity on prime time on CNN to show your audience. Yeah, but you're probably talking to partisan Democrat officials who are opposed to everything this president does. You should also ask the people who live in Portland. We've actually heard from many members of the community who have said that this is complete civil disobedience. It's a mess. It's been loud. It's been troubling for neighbors in the community who are just trying to live peacefully. And these people are not there to peacefully protest. They are there to cause mayhem and havoc.
Not what she asked. She didn't ask, does the president have the right? She didn't ask, where in U.S. code is Donald Trump authorized to deploy troops? Not what she asked. And the fact that Caroline Leavitt doesn't want you to know that there are no local officials, not a single one in Portland government, in Oregon government, that are calling for the National Guard to be deployed to occupy the American city of Portland, Oregon. Not a one. Also, the little wiggle room language that she uses around certain things. Night after night after night, she says, the ICE facility has been really under siege. It's almost like saying, well, essentially, basically, it's virtually under siege. It's under siege. She gives herself away with the language that she uses when she finally does try to answer some semblance of a question. They have been disrespecting law enforcement. Apparently that is the only predicate needed to deploy military troops to a municipality, is if cops were disrespected, is if the secret police, the masked, armed agents of the state of Donald Trump, if they're being disrespected, then we call in the military. Because these steely-eyed urban warfare experts, they can't stand being disrespected. And then I love this. She goes, well, listen, I would encourage you as a reporter to go on the ground and take a look for yourself, because there's been many members of the press. Well, not press in this room, she says, but independent journalists. She means MAGA journalists. She means the Nick Sartors, the what's the little beanie dipshit? Tim Pool, the little Tim Pool sycophant, Nick Sartor, who got arrested the other night. That guy, that's the person you can rely upon for accurate information about Antifa and the threat that the left poses. These people in literal clown costumes protesting ICE out there. There is no under siege from Antifa. There is no under siege in Portland. And disrespect of a cop is not justification for anything. It's not justification for arrest. It's not justification for detainment and questioning. It's not justification. It's a badge of honor, is it not, for a cop? That's part of the job. You are the authority, the armed agent of the state. You can take a little disrespect. Yeah, but you're probably talking to a partisan Democrat official, not some MAGA cult member, she says. Come on. Anyway, again, this is hopefully some sort of education about media literacy for those of you out there. There are probably few, very few, but there will be some who don't pay attention that the question was not answered. They don't hold the question in their mind. I'm guilty of it sometimes. This is a moment to educate.
The president answered my questions on text about his hopes for this nascent deal.
Donald Trump gets to hide behind the black screen of texting.
Another video talking about Jake Tapper, a guy who I once held in decent esteem, someone that I thought was trustworthy, a notable figure in the media that you could go to and rely upon the things that he said. And then he bent the knee to Donald Trump. Like many in the media, Morning Joe and Mika Brzezinski rushing to Mar-a-Lago before he even took office to kiss his ass. Jake Tapper's another one of these characters who's making money hand over fist with his book with Alex Thompson about Joe Biden's cognitive issues. Yet, when Donald Trump is MIA, no one knows where he is, Jake Tapper conducts an interview, an exclusive CNN interview with Donald Trump via text message. You know that's not an interview, right, Jake? You do know it, right? And you also know, because you're so tuned in, so plugged in to the media landscape, that in the moment that Donald Trump is missing in action, you're doing text message interviews with him. No questions about his cognition. No concerns about, hey, sir, I come to you with tears in my eyes, sir. Why are you not in the public? Why are you not on camera? Why are you not at the very least on the phone with me during this interview via text? And Lawrence O'Donnell had some things to say about this last night. Let me tell you, too often in different occupations, There's like solidarity. We don't speak against our own. You see it with cops all the time. Well, you don't rat out a fellow cop, even if they're doing something illegal, criminal, immoral, unethical. You don't rat out another cop. We're all on the same team here. Back the blue, blah, 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 right? Well, I like that there are certain reporters who will call bad behavior out, who will point out the failures of others, especially in this moment, this precarious time in the history of the United States. We need more energy like this from Lawrence O'Donnell of MSNBC, calling out, not my name. I don't believe he uses Jake Tapper's name, but we know who he's talking about because he plays clips of Jake Tapper breaking down this extraordinarily dangerous moment in our history and in how the media deals with Donald Trump. Watch Lawrence O'Donnell, and we'll talk about it on the other side, and then I'll decide whether I'm going to play more of Jake Tapper's segment. Watch this.
And so yesterday morning, CNN presented a so-called interview with CNN that they can't even prove was Donald Trump. They called it breaking news. They called it, quote, an exclusive new interview with President Trump. That's what they called it. Before the interviewer said this.
The president answered my questions on text about his hopes for this nascent deal.
What? You gave him the questions in writing? So now, instead of letting Trump hide in a phone call where we can at least know that it's him talking, Donald Trump gets to hide behind the black screen of texting? We actually have no idea who texted the replies in that so-called interview. CNN is unable to prove that Donald Trump was actually doing that texting. CNN has not revealed how long it took to get a reply to each of the 5 written questions that apparently got replies from someone who texted those replies or someone who told Donald Trump what to text in those replies, or maybe it was from Donald Trump. The first question was, what happens if Hamas insists on staying in power in Gaza, to which the text reply, and we don't know how long this took, was, and we don't know who did it, the text reply says, complete obliteration. The final, slow pitch softball question was, how do you think the government shutdown is going to end? That question got the empty answer it deserved. Someone texted this reply as an answer to that question of how the shutdown is going to end. Good, we are winning and cutting costs, big time, exclamation point. The interviewer then said, I asked a few other questions on text, still waiting for a response on those, Mr. President. Okay, what were those questions? Exactly which questions did Donald Trump refuse to answer? What could be more relevant in reporting an exchange that is supposed to be with the President of the United States than including the questions he refused to answer? We have no idea. Any questions about Jeffrey Epstein or his sex trafficking friend, Ghislaine Maxwell? Any questions about Jeffrey Epstein's co-conspirator, Ghislaine Maxwell? We don't know.
More of this energy from journalists. And let me tell you, piggybacking off what I just talked about which questions are not answered, which questions are most feared by Republicans, by politicians in general, that should be something we talk about. And this is just another angle of that. The questions that Donald Trump refused to answer from the text messages of Jake Tapper are important. So important that we should know what those questions are. Jake Tapper, in many areas here, is failing at his job. He is protected by the United States Constitution's First Amendment, the free and fair press, The only occupation listed in the Constitution as protected, granted special constitutional protections. And Jake Tapper shit in the bed. To cozy up to Donald Trump, the president of the United States, throwing Joe Biden under the bus for cognitive decline, yet not a question in sight for Donald Trump. Nary a probing question from Jake Tapper. Or maybe there was, he's just not letting us know what those questions were. And they did, I'm not going to play it. You get the vibe from what Lawrence O'Donnell played there. They did play this out like it was some kind of an exclusive CNN interview with the president of the United States. You don't know who's on the other end. Anyway, all of this is good information to take into your week, to take into your year, to take into this second administration of Donald Trump, knowing where the weak points are in media coverage. And CNN right now is absolutely, generally one of those weak points. There are weaker points in the chain of CNN. Jake Tapper is certainly one of them. There are others, but there are people who do good work. Manu Raju does great work over there. There are many people who do good work. I'm going to talk about Boris Sanchez today. He's another one. Does good work. You can rely upon him to ask the tough questions, to ask the tough follow-ups, to not allow the non-answering bullshit to continue. Anyway, I'd love to know what you think. You can comment below this video wherever you're watching it. Please make sure you're subscribed to this YouTube channel. We're trying to get to 1.5 million subscribers by the end of the year. And with your help, I can do that. You can also like and follow the Facebook page, Dollemore Daily. And if you'd like to sound off in the comments, please do. Or you can leave me a brief voicemail, 714-576-4054. And of course, as always, you can email me, daily@dollemore.com.
That lady is a walking nightmare.
You're about, I know you for 20 years. You're about 5'10", 11.
Yesterday, I did a video about AOC's over the weekend Instagram Live where she admonished her audience. She encouraged her audience to laugh at these freaks, to mock these freaks like Stephen Miller. And she made a funny quip about how he seems like he's a guy. She's never seen the dude, but he seems like he's a guy who's 4'10". He seems like a guy because it's not a problem to be 4'10". But he seems like a guy who's 4'10", but who's angry about being 4'10", and he carries that energy with him. And it's okay to mock these freaks. That's what she said. And yesterday on Laura Ingram's show on Fox News, Stephen Miller was forced to sit through this humiliation while they played a brief moment from her Instagram Live, and also asked Stephen Miller to respond. And let me make a mea culpa moment. I was wrong. I think I was wrong. So I'm here to make a correction that AOC was correct. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez was correct about Stephen Miller, that he hates it. I thought maybe he was so wretched and putrid and vile and poisonous in his being that he reveled in the mockery. He likes it, I thought. Maybe he likes it. Well, I was wrong, because if you watch this clip of him watching it take place in real time and then him having to respond to it, he didn't like it. Maybe he is one of these guys that, look, it's one thing if I start making fun of you, but, your peer of age, I think she's about his age. So when a pretty lady starts making fun of you and you're just a little Gollum-like figure, it's a little different situation. So watch this, him forced humiliation. You'd think he'd get turned on by that. I guess not. Watch Stephen Miller respond to AOC while Laura Ingram really tries to back clean up here and try to provide some cover for Stephen Miller.
President Trump is not going to stand for it. That's the bottom line.
Stephen, AOC is you're her favorite target apparently on Instagram. Check this out.
He looks like he is angry about the fact that he's 4'10", and he looks like he is so mad that he is 4'10" that he's taking that anger out at any other population possible, like Laugh at them. Laugh at them.
Like, laugh at them. Laugh at them. I wish I had a hoodie on. I mean, are we trying to play sorority sister as elected official? I don't know. I was at a sorority over the weekend over in Texas. I felt like I was back at the sorority house, except they had more sense. Stephen, quick response.
Well, we knew that her brain didn't work. Now we know their eyes don't work. So I mean, she is a mess, right? What a train wreck. What a train wreck.
I think you should just get a hoodie.
It's great.
You should just wear a hoodie from now on and respond to her in a hoodie. It should be hoodie to hoodie. Stephen,
yes,
thank you so much. Yeah, go ahead.
I think the important point is that every time she's on TV, Republican approval ratings go up, Democrat approval ratings go down. That lady is a walking nightmare.
You're about. I know you for 20 years. You're about 5'10", 11. About 5'10", yes. So 4'10". Yes. I don't know what she can say. All right, Stephen, thank you very much.
What's the obsession with her wearing a hoodie while she's at home doing an Instagram Live? That's the best you got, Laura? She's wearing a hoodie? Oh, it's a disqualifier. This representative, this congresswoman wearing a hoodie. Oh, the humanity. She's wearing a hoodie. Like, laugh at them. Laugh at them. I wish I had a hoodie on. I mean, are we trying to play sorority sister as this is an elected official? I know I was at a sorority over the weekend in Texas. I felt like I was back in the sorority house, except they had more sense. Stephen, quick, respond. Oh, it is so good. Well, we knew her brain didn't work. You're really going to come at this with her brain didn't work. I guess the only thing I'd have to say to that is nothing bad can happen. It can only good happen.
Nothing bad can happen. It can only good happen.
So keep telling us about politicians whose brains don't work, Stephen Miller. And then I love the crosstalk. It was such an awkward, they had a brilliant moment to take down AOC, to have some constructed banter between them, and they failed. They botched it. What an absolute nightmare this segment was, while trying to impugn the brain power of AOC. One of the smarter members of Congress, by the way. But when you spend night after night after night defending it can only good happen.
It can only good happen.
It kind of skews, I think, your take on what the political landscape is and who is smart and who is not. When you work for and you work in service to the least intellectually curious president this planet has ever known, maybe from any nation, it says something.
And they have a sniper on top of a building, firing a high-caliber rifle.
The National Guard isn't being sent to Dallas, where that sniper was.
Because the Dallas Police Department and the governor of Texas, well, you walked right into that one.
Speaking of the sad about being 4'10", Stephen Miller, he rest assured he says he's 5'10" or 5'11". He's not quite sure, but it's not 4'10". He took to the airwaves, not just on Fox News yesterday, but also on CNN, where Boris Sanchez, someone who does generally very good work over at CNN, asked him a series of questions about the actions of the federal government, the proposed invasion and occupation by military troops of an American city, another American city, Portland, Oregon. And this exchange is really something else, except for when it got to YouTube, when it made it to YouTube, there was like a roughly 15 second piece that was just ham-fistedly edited out. And I got questions for CNN because it may have been the most important statement made by Stephen Miller, where he says, when in our history have we tolerated unlawful riotous assemblies? Which would beg the question, where was Stephen Miller on January 6, 2021, when Trump supporters, armed white supremacist allies of Stephen Miller, erected a hangman's gallows on the lawn of the Capitol while they chanted, "Hang Mike Pence," while they hunted and stalked Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi? Where was he during that? But that particular moment was edited out of the version that made it to YouTube. Here, and you'll see at the end of the clip, it cuts from like 2:50 p.m. Eastern time to like 2:53, all crazy. And they left out maybe the most important aspect of this interview. But I'm going to give you the full picture here. So let's start with the edited clip as part of this interview.
Police have made something like 70 total arrests since June, and there are no reports of buildings being burned to the ground. The White House cited a guillotine being rolled out as like a public display of rebellion, but there isn't actually a threat that these demonstrators are going to overthrow the government. Are you concerned that that response weakens your legal argument?
No, they are actually, as we speak, trying to overthrow the core law enforcement function of the federal government. Boris, this is, I think, where we're talking past each other. When ICE officers have to street battle against Antifa, hand-to-hand combat every night to come and go from their building, when they try to exit in a vehicle, when they are swarmed and surrounded and they try to tip the vehicle over, when people bring weapons to an ICE facility to try to engage in direct violent assault against ICE officers, what is the purpose? It is to prevent immigration and customs enforcement from carrying out the mission the American people elected them to do.
You make the case that these are terrorists, but in what we've seen thus far,
you see, they're trying to make the argument, the Trump administration and MAGA are trying to make the argument that this is an insurrection. This is an attempted overthrow of the United States government, the likes of which, to use Donald Trump's language, we've already seen. We know in modern times what an insurrection looks like because we suffered through one on January 6, 2021. When an armed mob of psychopaths, of white Christian nationalists, of neo-Nazis attempted to overthrow the United States government, to reinsert Donald Trump as president of the United States, in spite of the fact that he lost by 7+ million votes to Joe Biden. It was violent. We witnessed it. There was feces smeared on the hallway, in the hallways of the United States Capitol. A Confederate flag traipsed through the United States Capitol. Important stuff. Stuff that should not be ignored, especially by the mainstream media. And look, I'm not putting this on Boris Sanchez. I don't think he controls the YouTube edit here. He's just in the moment asking the questions. But why was this particular moment edited out of what you just watched? Watch this.
When in our history have we tolerated unlawful riotous assemblies night after night around FBI buildings or ATF buildings or DEA buildings? This is the textbook definition of domestic terrorism.
When in our history have we tolerated unlawful riotous assemblies, he asks. Here's a moment. Here are several other moments we'll just put on screen while I'm talking about it. There were many moments on that day where it was absolutely tolerated, even by the Democrat President Joe Biden, who ended up taking office on January 20th at noon in 2021. And he appointed Merrick Garland, the radical left lunatic who did not see to the conviction of the man who incited the insurrection against the country, who encouraged and promoted political violence in his name. It was tolerated to the point where there were a few convictions and they were also pardons. Joe Biden had to go so far as to pardon the committee members who were investigating the insurrection so that Donald Trump would not convict them and persecute them using the power and weight of the federal government. You see, this entire thing is attempting to make arguments that are ridiculous arguments, that do not stand to reality, the test of what the actual facts are and what reality is. And in this second clip from later in the interview, you'll see that because they're trying to say that they're keeping ICE facilities safe. And that the reason is because there's snipers on roofs taking shots at ICE agents. Even though that took place in Dallas, That took place in Texas, and they're not sending the National Guard to Texas. They're not federalizing. They're not invading the state of Texas and occupying it with military troops. They're sending them elsewhere. And this, much to Boris Sanchez's credit, was pointed out. And watch Stephen Miller panic. Oh, you just walked right into that one, he says. Watch this.
If a Democratic president someday calls the National Guard to a red state over what they see as open rebellion, but is what amounts to a demonstration that gets rowdy. I mean, is that not a fear?
And they're posting pictures of their kids because it's a demonstration, and they have a sniper on top of a building firing a high-caliber rifle at a nice facility because it's a demonstration, and they are engaged in a vehicle ramming
But the
attacks,
National Guard isn't
coordinated
being sent to
attacks
Texas.
because it's a
The National Guard
demonstration.
isn't being sent to Dallas, where that sniper was.
Because the Dallas Police Department and the governor of Texas, well, you walked right into that one, have responded to every call for assistance and help. They gave a stand-down order in Chicago, and they gave a stand-down order in Portland. Do you realize that there's 11,000 federal law enforcement officers in Oregon? That's larger than the size of the FBI. Local and state police are resourced to deal with this kind of riotous assembly, but they have refused. They've been given a stand-down order. So
they've
we
arrested
need
some
to use
70
National
people
Guard and
since
federal
June.
troops
They've been
to
arresting
fill in
folks
that
on the
breach.
ground. They've been arresting folks on the ground. They refute what you're saying outright.
Boy, you just walked into that one. Walked into what one, Steve? Mr. 410? What did he walk into? You're saying you're predicating a military invasion of an American city on something that didn't happen in that city or state. Makes total sense, Stephen. Makes total sense. Let's invade Portland, Oregon because of a criminal act that took place in Texas. That's how law enforcement works. Yeah, absolutely. There was shoplifting at Walgreens, so let's go invade CVS. MAGA laps this up with the spoon. They can't get it fit enough of this bullshit into their mouths, just savoring the flavor of all of the lies from Stephen Miller and Donald Trump. The rest of us, on the other hand, we see what's going on here. And it's going to be reflected in the midterms. They are talking themselves out of power. They are talking themselves out of influence because every moment that they lie, every moment that they provide distraction, every moment that they refuse to answer clear, pointed questions about the failures of their policies is a moment that people are starting to wake up. I really hope that to be true.
Who are we talking about?
Ghislaine Maxwell.
I haven't heard the name in so long.
You haven't heard that name in so long? This guy is guilty. Donald Trump again was asked the question about pardoning Ghislaine Maxwell, convicted child sex trafficker, convicted participator in the rape of children, Ghislaine Maxwell. And Donald Trump is, at the very least, the most charitable and fair interpretation is that he's considering it. The man who leads the party that's the party of family values, heavy air quotes. The man who leads the party that has been on a crusade to save the children. Disparate conspiracy theory movements have sprouted up around child sex trafficking, around Jeffrey Epstein. They usually ignore Donald Trump's long association with Jeffrey Epstein. But that same movement doesn't seem to have the fervor for getting to the bottom of what's going on here. And every moment that Donald Trump gets a moment to address questions that are facing him about this, he just admits, yeah, I had something to do with raping those kids. It is obvious. The amount of labor, the amount of effort, the amount of blood, sweat, and tears that has gone in to extricating Donald Trump, from covering Donald Trump, any association. Here's to another year of wonderful secrets, Jeffrey. Enigmas are ageless, Jeffrey. They're doing their best. And Donald Trump yesterday in the Oval Office was asked by Caitlin Collins about this, about the plan, about the possibility of pardoning a convicted child rapist in Ghislaine Maxwell. I left on the beginning of it because I really want to just show the flavor for the chaos in the Oval Office. Because the first question you're going to hear is him being asked about Greta Thunberg and her release from an Israeli prison. Israel really getting it done over there. And Donald Trump just goes on this invective spewing tirade about how she's a troublemaker and she's angry and she's crazy and she needs to see a doctor, all this other bullshit. And then he launches into his consideration of pardoning a vile, sickening abuser of children.
And a follow-up question on Israel. Israel government has been arresting and deporting activists that were traveling to Gaza. Today, Greta Thunberg, for instance, also some...
Well, she's just a troublemaker, you know. I mean, she's no longer into the environment, now she's into this. She's a troublemaker. She has an anger management problem. I think she should see a doctor. She needs anger. If you ever watch her, she's a young person. She's so angry. She's so crazy. Now you can have her. She's just a troublemaker. Yeah, please.
The Supreme Court is back in its term today, Mr. President.
Say it.
The Supreme Court is back in session.
Yeah.
They rejected today an appeal by Ghislaine Maxwell to overturn her conviction. That means her only chance at getting out of prison is a pardon from you. Is that something you're open to?
Who are we talking about?
Ghislaine Maxwell.
You know, I haven't heard the name in so long. I can say this, that I'd have to take a look at it. I would have to take a look. Did they reject that?
She wanted to appeal her conviction.
And what happened?
They said that they were not going to hear her appeal.
I see. Well, I'll take a look at it. I will speak to the DOJ. I wouldn't consider it or not consider it. I don't know anything about it. So, but I'll speak. I will speak to the DOJ.
Why would she be a candidate for clemency, sir?
I don't know. I mean, I'd have to speak to the DOJ. I'll look at it. I have a lot of people have asked me for pardons. I call him Puff Daddy has asked me for a pardon.
But she was convicted of child sex trafficking.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to have to take a look at it. I'd have to ask DOJ. I didn't know they rejected it. I didn't know she was even asking for it, frankly. Steve?
You made a decision on whether to...
You haven't heard that name in so long? This guy is guilty. How guilty is Donald Trump? On a scale of 10 to 10.5, how guilty is this dipshit? And also, he's gonna pardon her, right? Oh, I'm talking to people. I'm gonna talk to people. I haven't heard about this. Oh, who? Who are you talking about? Say it, say it, say it. My question will be, is it gonna pull a junior soprano? If you watch The Sopranos, you know, in later seasons when Uncle June, Corrado Soprano, acted like he was mentally deficient, acted like he had memory issues, and I can't be held accountable for my crimes because of all of this. It makes me wonder if Donald Trump is just going to kind of drift away. Oh, my mind is, you can't send me to jail. You can't prosecute me for my crimes against children, for my participation in the rape, the systematic abuse of kids. Oh, you can't hold me accountable. I have Alzheimer's now. Makes one wonder, does it not? Meanwhile, the Republican Party is doing everything in their power to distract from. Mike Johnson won't swear in duly elected members of the House of Representatives. He won't swear them in because they're the linchpin in actually releasing the Epstein files that he claims he wants nothing more than to release. The Republicans are out there covering for credibly accused child rapist Donald Trump at every point. Their entire agenda right now is to protect a credibly accused pedophile. They're the pedophile protector party.
Why not? If you are a New Yorker, you know Donald Trump, you know me. Many of them would give money to Donald Trump and give money to me. And money.
Why? What do you and Donald Trump share in common?
I don't think it'll come as a surprise to you that I believe Andrew Cuomo is a bad guy. I don't mean like a bad politician or not good at his job. I believe he is a bad person. He is an abuser of women under his employ. Aides, staffers, grabbing their tits, just being a gross perv. Terrible. This isn't even to talk about the job that he did as governor of the state of New York during COVID, just allowing all kinds of elderly people to die of COVID that didn't need to die. Just a gross mismanagement, and an arrogant gross mismanagement at that, because he, remember the press conferences he used to hold on an almost daily basis, proclaiming himself to be the savior of everyone in New York from COVID. We're actually doing the job well while Donald Trump shits the bed. That was the narrative. We found out later that wasn't the case. And now his alignment, both in how poorly he did his job, but also his supporters, his candidacy for mayor of New York City is being propped up by Donald Trump. Eric Adams was forced to drop out of the race by Donald Trump to leave only Andrew Cuomo. And yesterday, he did an interview with Stephanie Ruhle from MSNBC, and she asked some very pointed questions and was drilling down when she wasn't getting answers. And I want you to watch Andrew Cuomo, this seasoned, veteran politician, squirm and flail when she's asking him about why is it that you and Donald Trump share a lot of the same supporters, a lot of the same donors. And his answer is just galaxy brain nonsense that will convince no one. Even your most dyed-to-the-wool MAGA moron isn't going to buy this bullshit. That the reason is we're both New Yorkers. What? You're a Democrat from a legendary Democratic family in the state of New York, the Cuomos, Mario Cuomo. You think that people want to vote for the fascist, the guy who is invading U.S. cities with the United States military, who is disappearing people off the streets? You think that they support you and him at the same time because you're both New Yorkers? You assert that New Yorkers are so stupid that they believe Zoran Mamdani is not a New Yorker, that Eric Adams wasn't a New Yorker. It's just you and Donald Trump, huh? Two peas in a pod. Great. Watch this, and really, good job on the part of Stephanie Ruhle. Look, I know I shit on the media a lot, but when they do good things, I'm gonna call them out for that too. And she held him to the fire here. She made sure that she pushed him on getting an answer to this question. By the way, spoiler alert, no real answer ever came. Watch this.
Your opponent, Zoran Mamdani, believes that Trump is helping you, right? Trump has called Mamdani 100% communist lunatic. And Mamdani says Trump is clearing the path for you, and if elected, you will clear the path for his agenda. What do you say to that?
Let's go back to the word delusional. There is no governor in the United States of America, no elected official who fought more with Donald Trump than I did. None.
You share a lot of his same donors right now. There are a lot of New Yorkers who are very excited about your campaign, who are also very excited about Donald Trump. Don't tell me that's not true.
Are there New Yorkers who gave money to me and gave money to Donald Trump? Of course. Of course.
Why is that an of course?
Well, why not? If you are a New Yorker, you know Donald Trump, you know me. Many of them would give money to Donald Trump and give money to me. And money.
Why? What do you and Donald Trump share in common?
We're New Yorkers. They know me, they know him.
Yeah, but let's just stay on this, and I don't want to take too much more of your time because I'm surprised by this. You think that something about Donald Trump makes someone give Donald Trump a check and Andrew Cuomo a check. What is that thing that the two of you both share?
I think that people who know him and people who know me. I think
what are those things?
The personal knowledge. He lived here. I live here. You may be a friend of Donald Trump. You may know me, you may contribute to him, you may contribute to me.
How much stumbling and bumbling and panic and lurchy, I don't know what to do here. She's not letting me do the politician thing. The interview did go on after that clip that I just played. And she let him talk a little longer than I would have liked, that I would be critical of. But look, At this point, with the media landscape the way it is, I'm only going to bitch about the things that I think are super critical. And we got this out of the way. This was on TV. People are going to be able to see this because people like me are going to share it and talk about it. And this was a failure on the part of Andrew Cuomo. There should have been an answer at the ready, a predetermined, this is going to get brought up. This is your answer to this. The fact that they don't makes me wonder what they think is going to happen in this race. If there's some kind of October surprise, or if they're just going to rely on Donald Trump interfering outright and explicitly in the election, because this was a failure on the part of the Cuomo campaign to not have an answer to this. It's not just Staten Island that supports you and Donald Trump. There are MAGA people in the city of New York who are supporting your candidacy, Andrew Cuomo, and that should tell you everything you need to know. How much crossover do you think Hakeem Jeffries has with Donald Trump voters? How much crossover do you think Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez has with Trump voters? If your wheels are spinning, you're not aware of the political landscape well enough. He is being supported by not only Trump supporters, but by Donald Trump himself. That's the candidacy. That's the legacy of Andrew Cuomo, is that he is two peas in a pod, birds of a feather, whatever, with Donald Trump. And that's a problem. It should be a problem because it's just another figure who has bent the knee to Donald Trump, who is kissing the ass of Donald Trump so he can be closer to power, so he can once again be a political figure in New York. Gross.
Just this morning, the Department of Education's website scratched a lot of things that happened under Ryan Walters' reign. PragerU partnership, the naturalization test for teachers, America First assessment, gone from the website.
Ryan Walters, I talked about it the other day, is out at the Department of Education in Oklahoma as the superintendent, the State Department of Instruction or whatever they call it. And they're learning now, well, one, it's like they have to go and scrub all of the policies from the website and from being in action in the state. And as part of that review, they're also finding out all kinds of things about $150,000 salary here for a guy who's only showed up to work 4 times, and $50,000 in bonuses for this guy who lives in Texas. All kinds of serious implications for Ryan Walters legally are coming down the pike. But let's start with the erasure of the website, because when Ryan Walters took office, he tried to implement a white Christian nationalist worldview into the education standards of the state of Oklahoma, which is already number 50 out of 50. Not good. And any parent who has any concern for the education of their children should be outraged that this is the guy who ran roughshod over the state's education system, putting in PragerU lessons into elementary schools, PragerU lessons that said, yeah, slavery's bad, but it's not as bad as being murdered. Yeah. Buying Donald Trump Bibles, the God Bless the USA Bible with Donald Trump's inaugural addresses and all the other, his signature, buying those to put them into classrooms. There's all kinds of nonsense that they're having to reverse right now. And it's turning out to be more of a task than they thought. Watch this from WFOR, local Oklahoma City affiliate.
So just this morning, the Department of Education's website scratched a lot of things that happened under Ryan Walters' reign. PragerU partnership, the naturalization test for teachers, America First assessment, gone from the website. Just goes to show that whoever Governor Stitt ends up putting at the department has a long road ahead.
Am I happy? No.
Lawmakers say normalcy is needed at the Department of Education. Some normalcy came as Educators Hall of Fame was put back up at the Department of Education Wednesday afternoon, after what many consider a controversial reign under Ryan Walters.
Wants Oklahoma to be the first state to put Bibles back in schools.
From the new social studies standards making false claims about the 2020 election, giving teachers transferring from blue states the America First test. Changes, though, have already happened. All right, let's take a look at some changes already made. This is the Department of Education website. This was September 22nd. When you scrolled down, you saw a lot. Office of Religious Liberty, school choice links. And then when you clicked on this, Story of America, it took you to those social studies standards that were controversial, the test teachers had to take, the naturalization test. It also had several other links, including the PragerU partnership links. Now, let's look at this website. This is the current Department of Education website. It looks similar, but none of the links to the America site that had PragerU, has this Teacher of the Year thing, a school choice link. Other than that, it has a lot of changes compared to when Walters ran it.
I'm very hopeful that whoever is named interim will prioritize reparative work.
Reverend Dr. Shannon Fleck has been long outspoken against what she calls Walters' Christian nationalism.
Most atrocious, but his implementation of Bibles in public schools, specifically the Trump Bible.
Fleck is also a part of a lawsuit fighting back against the new social studies standards. Those are on hold in the courts until the next court date.
We very much need to go back over his tenure.
Revisiting things would probably not be an issue.
Shauna Montright represents educators. She says, let's get back to before Oklahoma was 50th in education.
Oklahoma social studies teachers were chosen again, and they wrote what they wrote.
While updates to the websites Wednesday show a glimpse of that change, it could be costly and take some time. And just before this show, the Attorney General Gentner Drummond, who is running for governor in that campaign right now, but his office just requested a state audit of the Department of Education going back to January of 2023.
And as part of this website and policy purge, this attempt to reverse the damage that has been done, the weird tests for teachers who come from out of state to teach in the state of Oklahoma, they need to take an America First kind of a test, all of this. They're having to reverse it. And in the course of that, they're realizing, oh shit, there was a lot more damage done here than we thought. So much so that the Republican Attorney General, Republican officials, because keep in mind, Oklahoma isn't even like Texas, where there's a pretty good split of Democrats and Republicans. Oklahoma and Idaho, there's a few states that are very Republican, that are overwhelmingly Republican. And even in this overwhelmingly Republican state of Oklahoma, they are starting an investigation that I believe is going to portend bad things for Mr. Ryan Walters and the mismanagement and the abuse of his position, paying people vast sums of money, pilfering the education system in the state of Oklahoma. Here, same network, same affiliate, talking about this on a separate day, the investigation.
Busy first day without Ryan Walters in charge of the Oklahoma State Department of Education. Here at the Oliver Hodge building, we actually saw folks coming out of this building carrying stuff from their offices, loading it into their cars here in the parking lot this morning. Still, though, a lot's uncertain about who will remain on staff whenever somebody new finally comes in and takes over. And while we didn't see him Wednesday, a top Oklahoma State Department of Education official told me Ryan Walters' chief policy advisor Matt Langston is out too. The official telling me Langston will not be returning to the department. It's not clear right now if he's still on the state payroll. We told you Langston draws a $150,000 a year salary from the state while also getting more than $40,000 in taxpayer-funded bonus payments. That's despite the fact he lives and works out of Texas full-time, where he runs his own political consulting firm.
His connections and people that the superintendent has brought on board are all political folks. They're all work on campaigns from Florida to Washington, D.C.
And public records we told you Oklahoma Watch uncovered showed he's only used his badge to get into the Department of Education building 4 times the first half of this year.
He is a ghost employee. He's not showing up to work, but he's getting a check from the state of Oklahoma.
Another controversial top advisor we can confirm has not left the department is Chief of Staff Matt Mueller, who was at the office Wednesday. Is Matt Mueller in today?
They're in today, but they're in a meeting right now.
Off camera, I tried asking Mueller if he plans to resign. He did not respond. We first told you OSDE hired Mueller, a Florida-based political consultant, back in February, the state paying him nearly $50,000 in his first month on the job alone.
It's a huge waste, and we know it's a huge waste.
And State Senator Mary Boren says it all may be more than just wasteful.
If they were taking money to do a job that they weren't doing, that violates state law.
We also heard from numerous current Republican and Democratic state lawmakers Wednesday who all told us Mueller and Langston need to be at the top of the list of staff following Ryan Walters to the exit.
I think our new interim state superintendent is going to have to quickly restore order after this storm that we've been through collectively as a state.
Meanwhile, another bipartisan group of lawmakers I heard from Wednesday told me they want a full forensic audit examining Walters' tenure leading the Department of Education. And late Wednesday afternoon, Attorney General Gentner Drummond called on State Auditor Cindy Byrd to do just that, announcing, given the former superintendent's well-established history of mishandling tax dollars combined with new and ongoing allegations of misspending, I am now ordering an investigative audit of the Oklahoma State Department of Education.
We just need to make sure that whatever has happened before us and the fiscal mismanagement is appropriately attributed to the prior administration so that this new administration can have a fresh start.
So above all else, what this signals to me is the fact that Republicans, MAGA Republicans even, are very unhappy with what took place. They're going to find out the details of the person they elected to this position and then be like, what? Well, I didn't know that. I didn't vote for that. It's going to be kind of a replay of the 2024 election, that now there's all of these from Joe Rogan types and comedians who are disavowing the damage that they brought on, that they ushered in by supporting Donald Trump's candidacy. All of the farmers who were like, oh, I didn't vote for this. I didn't vote for all of my workers to be deported. I didn't vote for these tariffs to ruin my business. Yeah, you did. And hopefully there's some sliver of the population in Oklahoma who will realize, yeah, I did vote for that. And maybe next time I need to be a little bit more clear-headed. Maybe next time I need to think a little bit more clearly about the person that I'm putting in and not be some knee-jerk reactionary believing that kids have litter boxes in their classrooms. Maybe don't be driven by conspiracy theory and moronic talking points from these MAGA America First Nazi fucks. Maybe that. We'll see what happens. Anyway, what do you think? I invite you to this conversation. If you live in Oklahoma, I'd really love to hear from you. You can also leave me a voicemail after you leave a comment, or in lieu of a comment, you can leave a voicemail, 714-576-4054. And of course, as always, you can email me daily@dollemore.com. I will see you next time. I love and appreciate you very much. Be genuine and take care of one another.